Welcome to our School Appeals Advice modules. We hope that you find them informative and that they give you some help in how to approach the appeals process. And we wish you the best of luck in your appeals. Chapter 1, Introduction. These modules are meant as a guide for parents who are thinking about appealing against a refusal of a school place for their children. Please note that these modules are for information only and are not formal legal advice. In case of any doubt, you should seek specific legal advice. Let's take a look at what modules are available and what information you can find here. In these modules we will cover the following topics. Whilst you can select individual modules, it is recommended that you follow all of them in order, so that you have a good understanding of all aspects of the process. Part 1 is this introduction. Part 2 will tell you about who will be at the appeal and what their role is. Attending an appeal can be daunting, so it's good to know who is there and what they are going to do. Part 3 will tell you the process that should be followed at the appeal. For example, who will speak first, and when you will get your chance to speak. Part 4 covers the different types of appeal. Part 5 gives details of appeals that are covered by infant class size legislation. Part 6 covers appeals that are known as two-stage appeals, that is those from years 3 onwards that are not infant class size. Part 7 looks at some questions that you should ask yourself as they may be raised by the panel after you have given your case. And also gives you some ideas of questions that you might want to bring up to the school representative. Part 8 thus will advise you on what you may want to consider if your appeal is not upheld. Part 9 covers withdrawn places, where an authority offers a place but then withdraws it for some reason. And also looks at children that are summer-born and have a different place. Part 10 deals with issues around discrimination. Chapter 3, What is an appeal? Any parent who has not been awarded a place for their child at their first preference school, will be given the right of appeal to an independent appeal panel. If this is the case, the letter from the authority must inform parents of their right to make an admission appeal, including details of how to make the appeal. Parents can appeal against the refusal to admit their child to a school even if they have already accepted another school, and can appeal against the decision not to admit their child to more than one school. Before you make the decision to appeal against the decision, it is worth you considering all the options and looking at whether you actually have a case. There are actually very few instances where an appeal can be upheld, and we will look at what some of those options are in future modules. But if you do not have a case, then it is a futile exercise to go through all of the time, stress and effort to go to the appeal when you really don't have any legal basis. It costs you nothing to appeal, but the appeals panel members are usually volunteers. However, there is still a huge cost to the authority to hold the appeals, have the relevant people attend and defend the case, etc. And this is just your tax money being spent. The number of appeals upheld does vary from authority to authority, as some are better than others at getting the admissions process right. Overall, about 2% of infant class admissions go to appeal. Of those, around 14% were upheld. However, in some areas it's as low as 4% that are upheld. For primary non-infant appeals, around 34% are upheld, so the figure is much higher. The figures seem to be decreasing year on year as authorities get better at administering the process correctly within the guidelines. Chapter 4, What governs the appeals process? One of the main documents involved is the Department for Education School Admissions Code. If you don't have a copy, you should get one. It is freely available to download. Make sure it's the correct version as it's quite often updated. Just search for it online, or you can follow the link. This is statutory guidance that schools must follow when carrying out duties relating to school admissions. This is one of the main things that you can base your appeal on, that the school did not follow the code fully. You need to read it fully and understand it. The second document you should be aware of is the School Admissions Appeals Code. Again, if you don't have a copy, you should get one. Just search for it online, or you can follow the link. All of the processes are governed by the School Standards and Framework Act 1998. Like the other documents, you can get a copy, but as it's a legal document, it's quite heavy going to read. Just search for it online, or you can follow the link. The Human Rights Act 1998 and the Equality Act 2010 also have some bearing on the process. The Admissions Code applies to admission authorities, governing bodies and local authorities, school adjudicators, and the Admission Appeals Panel. Academies should follow the principles of the code and their funding agreement should say they will comply with it. What information must a school publish? Admissions criteria, the amount of pupil premium the school receives, how it is spent and the effect of it, the curriculum, the behavior policy, special educational needs and disability policy, links to Ofsted reports, performance data, progress measures for Key Stage 2 and 4. Check that it is this. If it does not, it is in breach of the regulations. The school admissions policy. The admission authority for each school is required to prepare an admission policy for its schools. To comply with the code, the policy must be written in plain English, and in any other commonly used community languages. It will usually be contained within a comprehensive booklet for parents, produced by the local authority about the schools available in their area. It must include the following information: the published admission number, PAN, for every year group into which pupils can be admitted, including year 12 when there is a sixth form. The admission number is the maximum number of pupils that the admission authority will admit to each year group. Each school has a published number to admit, PAN, for the whole school. This number will have been agreed with the local authority. The published number is divided evenly into each year group to arrive at the PAN for each year group. The expected number of pupils on roll at the school and the school's age range. The oversubscription criteria to be applied, and the order in which these will apply. Information about any aptitude tests. Some specialist schools are allowed to select a percentage of pupils they admit by using an ability test. There are different rules for schools which are selective by nature, such as grammar schools. Information about whether a waiting list will be kept and if so for how long. Information about how any late applications will be handled. It may also include information about previous applications, which criteria places were allocated under previously and the number of successful appeals last year. This should allow parents to assess the likelihood of them getting their children into their preferred schools. These are usually available online, can be posted if you ask the authority, sometimes are given to all parents in the application pack, and in many cases is available in different languages. Next in Part 2, we will tell you about who will be at the appeal and what their role is.